thought with your age, I thought you'd be better near the speaker so you could hear properly. So good evening and welcome to Burns Night. Is that too loud? Is it too loud? No! Do I need the microphone? No! We'll go without the microphone just now. So welcome to Burns Night, and it's great tonight. It's actually on, our Saturday Burns Night is actually on the 25th. So happy birthday, Rabbi! This is the first time it's been on a Saturday night since 2003. I'm not turning that boring guy off the lottery, I'm just like, it's the first time since 2003 when we used to have Burns Night up in the golf club. And we've come, I think you'll see tonight, we've come a long way since then when we had like 36 folk. We did pretty much the same format, we had the same caterers. We used to sit down, enjoy a few whiskies. Same gags. Same gags. And we'd sit in the dining room, then we'd retire to the lounge, where, I don't know how it started, it ended up a bit of a tradition that Richard and myself would sing 500 miles and would split the room into half and half. And then I've still never understood why it happened. Andy Sheard then sang the old traditional song of Rhinestone Cowboy. Became a tradition of anyway. It's tonight, as you can see, is a sellout, so it's brilliant. You know, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's great to see that after all this time we can still sell out, and I think it's testament to Rabbi Burns himself that we can still give you more information about him. We're not going to give you more information about him. Yes, we might do. We can still give you some information about him. Yeah, we can still give you some information about him. And it's a credit to you for your endurance sitting through this, really. I think. It's probably down to the food and the whiskey, I think, more, isn't it? But thanks very much for coming again. It's great to have some newcomers. We've got a lot of newcomers this evening. We've got a lot of young newcomers, which is good because it's like a new generation coming in, isn't it? So we can. The good news is we can carry on with this sacrificial midnight, can't we? Don't worry, we don't do that.
Don't you believe it?
Just a bit of naked dancing, really. Right, talking of naked dancing, it's great to have a full quorum of the Addingham Swingers Club this evening. They arrived in a coach this evening, which is now parked up in a dark area of the park.
No wheels!
We said that as a sort of humorous thing in the pub in Addingham the other week. We were over at Colin's birthday.
This is true, actually.
And this is actually a true story. And we sat in the pub after a couple of pints, and we were asking about Burns Night and how the group was going along for it, and we said, you know, we've got the Addingham Swingers Club. And a girl who was sitting in the pub, who was here last year, went, oh, actually, yes, we do have a really bad reputation for that, don't we? So it started off as a bit of a joke. Now, I did say to Richard that I shouldn't put that in case we offend anyone. And Richard quite rightly said, it's never bothered us so far, has it? So why not just carry on? You might also notice this evening there's a few more sort of Scottish accents going on.
Yo!
We've got a few more sort of come down over the borders. Young Jimmy here, he's a nonagenarian. He's come down from Cooper and now lives with his daughter Anne and Graham. They've now nicknamed him The Exorcist because since he's moved in, all the spirits seem to have disappeared. Callum, who's a regular of ours, he's come down from Scotland again. He's brought a couple more this time, a couple of Johns with him. He's brought them down. Yay! Now, I just say that to both Johns and Jimmy, who are used to the Burns Federation dinners and lodge dinners and stuff, which are sort of exclusive affairs, aren't they? A bit sort of men-only affairs. The women that are dotted about the room interspersed amongst us are guests. They're not here just to serve you, so don't be clicking your fingers in it. Now, normally, the opening speech is really easy to do. It's really easy to make up because basically what we do is we run through the casualty list of previous years. Now, last year, there was none. It was really good. So you're either all getting really old, or you're getting your pacing yourself better, or you're just getting used to it. Or maybe you were just all traumatised at the sight of Richard dressed as a woman. So for those of you who don't know what happens during the Burns Night, we get together, we celebrate Robert Burns, Scotland's greatest poet. This is celebrated all over the world. It's big in Canada, New Zealand, Russia apparently. We've learnt from Malcolm over the years, haven't we? Yeah. And we get together and we celebrate a lot of Scottishness. We'll introduce you to some Scottish food with a haggis, a bit of Scottish whiskey, and basically anything. We like to do so just to liven up a dreich Saturday, January evening, don't we really? Now, I like to say that the preparation for this... Sorry?
Well, Dree.
Well, now the preparation for this, I'm reluctant to call it a committee really, because that implies there's some sort of organisation. And anyone who's been before knows pretty much, well you can see now we're sort of already half an hour behind, but we're not far off, are we? So, it's good for us, isn't it? It's good for us. But we get together a couple of times a year, and what we do is we scour the country for the best orators and performers. And as usual, none of them were available, so you're stuck with the same bloody lot as before. And what we do, you've probably heard the story before that if you get enough monkeys in a room with enough typewriters, you can get the works of Shakespeare, can't you? So, on the same thing, it must really work the same, mustn't it? You must be able to get the complete works of Rabbie Burns, if you do the same. We don't have access to any monkeys, so what we did was we took Richard, Colin, Malcolm and Bruce, locked them in a room with a bit of paper and a couple of chub crayons, and tonight is what you've got. You look like a crap version of Countdown, really. So the other week we went to Collins, we were having a walk out in Yorkshire, and you've got to admit, York, you're lucky people, aren't you? It's a beautiful place, is Yorkshire, we go about, and it's a good close second, isn't it, to Scotland? Oh, what's the matter? Listen, I'll tell you a tale, right? A long, long time ago, in the days before Jerry ever bought a round, that's how long. The good Lord was sitting up in a cloud, and he shouted his right-hand man across, old Gabriel, and says, Gabby, here, come here, have a look at this. He says, what is it? He says, I think this is my best work yet. He said, what is it? He said, I'm going to call this Alba, or Scotland. Look at this beautiful countryside. It's got beautiful hills, snow-capped mountains, valleys, deep valleys, covered with lush grass and purple heather. There's going to be forests aplenty. Red deer will roam the plains. There's plenty of oil, gas. There's lots of the people will be genius. They'll be inventive. The crystal clear waters that come down off the hillsides, they'll fill the lochs and the rivers, and they'll be teeming with fish. Fresh salmon jumping. And this fresh water, there'll be a fusion with barley and malt to create this great drink called whiskey. Here, Gabriel, have one, he says there.
I'll drink to that.
And Gabriel says, now listen, here, hang on a minute, God. He says, I know you're the boss and all that, but don't you think you're maybe going a bit overboard here? He says, don't you think you're going too far? You know, you wanted equality and balance everywhere, didn't you? And the Lord sat there and he thought, aye, maybe you're right. Where'd you put them bagpipes? Now I saw John grin at the bottom. John knows the true punchline to that. And I thought I'd take that and I'd swap it out. But the true punchline is, but I haven't told you who the neighbours are. So anyway, we want to try and move on. So to move on, Rhonda and myself think tonight that we're really lucky, we're really privileged, because we've got the majority of our family with us. We're surrounded by the majority of our family and the majority of our close friends. But we all know that we all don't have someone here who can't be with us for whatever reason. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to please stand for the first toast of the evening and raise your glasses to absent friends. Absent friends.
Sure,
I hand over to Jerry, who's going to do the grace for us. So, remain seated, but just please silence a minute.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As somebody who comes from Worcestershire, lives in Yorkshire, I've now to do something in Scottish. So here goes. And Subway heat. Sorry, start again. I knew I'd flop it. Some have meat that cannot eat, and some would eat that want it. But we have meat, and we can eat. Say, thank the Lord. Say, let the Lord be thanked.
Oh, thank you.